It's kind of interesting because there's the cultural segment. Of course, we get that religion, etc. But many people often overlook the fact that commerce creates all of these freedoms. When people are making money and they're happy, everything seems to unlock, right? Freedom of speech,
Hmm.
freedom of religion, and beyond. So, is commerce really the pivotal, the most important part, the most critical part to the Abraham Accords?
I would say that would be sort of the conventional wisdom, but remember, this is the Middle East, where none of the conventional wisdom really applies, and so commerce, I think, is the icing on the cake. I think commerce has the potential to unlock relationships and unlock opportunities and to unlock prosperity. And of course, that's extremely important. But the reason that um, we haven't had the commerce has been because of because people are dug in to their ideological positions. And while you could argue that you create the commerce and then that further unlocks the ideological rigidity, and that's true, but you can't get to the commerce until you first unlock some of that rigidity. People have to kind of jump into the pool, without any money to show for it. Just jump into the pool and say, "Look, Israel's a democracy. It's a good country. They have good values. We have a common enemy in Iran. We have a common, enemy in radical Islamic extremists. Um, we're gonna normalize this relationship, and then good things will come from it." Now, when the commerce is unlocked, and it has been to some extent, but not to the
Yeah.
fullest extent, it starts to validate the assumptions, and that's very important. But you gotta sort of cross the Rubicon first, and fortunately, that's happened. And now, with the war, it's very hard to do much more during the war. It's lots
Sure.
of pressures, but I think we're certainly on the downside, on the downslope of this war. And as it starts to come to an end, hopefully in the right way, we will, I think, see not just the Abraham Accords expand, but I'll see even as the existing countries, we'll see a lot more prosperity.
So I'll get into that in a little bit. I'm curious, just your use of relationships made me think about how personal all of this is for you. I mean, it's such an interesting thing that you've accomplished in your life. What's it like to go in and go into these Muslim states and organize, arguably the most important Middle East peace process for our generation? I mean, what an incredible accomplishment for you, David.
Well, like most negotiations, when teams are together, it's not unusual to have a good cop and a bad cop, and I was kind of, when it came to the Muslim states, I was sort of the bad cop, right? Because what Jared was saying is like, look, I can't give you all these things because I got a ambassador to Israel who's very close to the president, and he is very dug in on his values. He's the son of a rabbi. He grew up in a Orthodox home. He had his bar mitzvah in Israel in 1971, shortly after the Six Day War. He's an expert in Jewish history. He's an expert in Israel's history. He's just not going to give you what you want. He can't do it. Like it's like not. It's just not. So we're going to have to work within some of those that framework. And I think that, oddly enough, people think that people think that Muslims are naturally um, kind of pro Islam, and therefore hostile to Judaism or Christianity. That's a zero sum game. You can't be for one. If you're for one, you're against the other. Those weren't the ones that I met. Those weren't the Muslim leaders that I met. I found that they had deep respect for people of faith, and one of the assumptions that one of the incorrect assumptions that was made by Democrats and Republicans prior to the Trump administration is that Arab leaders are kind of their adherence to Islam comes at the expense or to the detriment of others. Now, some people can read the Quran that way, but that's not the way these people that I met. I mean, I kind of had conversations with some. I won't mention by name, but I said, look, you believe in in the Bible, not just in the Quran. I mean, you see the Old Testament as holy. You see Moses as a holy prophet. Same with Joshua and Samuel. Now, what would you do if you were me? I mean, if you were me and you were a devout Jew, and the Old Testament was really your entire the only text that really motivated you, and you have these covenants that God made to the Jewish people about the land of Israel. Would you just like ignore that? Like, would you give it away? I mean, like these places are not holy to other faiths, or not as much so as to the Jewish faith. What would you do? And he said, listen, I get it. Like, I totally respect people who adhere to their faith, especially when they're adhering to text, to holy texts. They're not making stuff up. They're actually adhering to ancient texts. But that's for you to decide. Like, we're not telling you what to do. Like, we're not giving you, directions on how to be a better Jew, or how to help Israel, achieve its goals. Um, you know, this is what we care about. I mean, this is, again, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed built the Abrahamic Faith Center in Abu Dhabi, which has, a church, a synagogue, and a mosque in one facility. I mean, th-
Yeah.
th- these are very, very forward-looking people, and they don't view the three Abrahamic faiths as being in conflict with each other. They see them very much coexisting, which is the future. That is the future of Israel and the Islamic world, to deal with people who see the world the same way.
That's interesting. Do you keep in touch with any of the foreign leaders that you develop relationships with?
I for a while, and then I started getting uncomfortable with the idea of meeting with them during the Biden administration, when invariably I would be offering them views that were in conflict with the government. So,
Sure.
they get very angry at you when you make a foreign trip and you're a former diplomat, and you start trying to push the conversation or the narrative in a particular direction. So I just figured I'd leave it alone until the water was friendlier.